John Augustine back again. Spare parts. You know, when you have a car and perhaps somebody runs into the back of you, as happened to me there the August weekend, Tuesday after the August weekend, when I exited a shopping centre in Navan and was going up the road. I looked in my mirror as I often do, and here there was a lorry within nearly on top of me. I said to myself, my time is up. No, I didn't say it exactly as calm as that. I'll tell you something. A big black lorry. So me, the next thing, he hit me in the back. My Dacia Logan Estate, blue, very comfortable, and it'll go forever on the diesel. So I went up the road a bit and stopped further away from where I had come out. And I had come out, I had been on a bit of the road. So it was a transport crowd that had other lorries, and the driver was Polish. Nothing wrong with that. And so we rang the guards, and they come after about 3/4 of an hour. But there was a couple there was very kind to me. I intend to contact them. I got their phone numbers, but I've been kind of busy since that. But spare parts we're talking about. So the company that recommended by the insurance company, which is Liberty Insurance, that's who I'm with. They're very good, and their claims manager. This happened on Tuesday. Came down to have a look. Invited me to go down to Navan to the shopping centre where it happened, where Woody's is, and he examined the car and took pictures. And then we went out the road to see where it happened, and he could see that I was further up the road from where I came out. I turned right to go towards Kells, and it's often tricky coming out because you have to look right to see something coming and left, so your eyes are going like. Matter of fact, it'd been better to turn left and go down to the roundabout and come around, which, and I always come out the way I come out. But I've been looking, but this time, um, and it was, and as I say, he reckoned that where it happened, where the glass was still, was further up the road, so the lorry was at fault because of the distance I had travelled. That he must have been going too fast, and later on he gave me some kind of a glass of water, but it was sparkling stuff, and I don't like that. But I saw it was from Wales, so perhaps he come from Wales, and their depot is in a place called at Ardbracken, between Navan and Kells. I won't make the name of it, not but suffice to say, spare parts. So the company that recommended by in Cavan, um, the company that does the audit check, they priced the spare parts and then submitted the price to the insurance company, which was accepted because the other crowd will have to pay for it. Unfortunately, I wasn't injured, but I would have got a bit of shock. But there was a couple very good to me, and they weren't husband and wife. They were very good, and I took their telephone numbers, and up to now I haven't contacted them because I've been busy in other things. But suffice to say that the spare parts now, it's a Dacia which is made by Renault, which is French. I presume Renault is manufactured in France, and you would think that Dacia, which is part of their product range and a very successful brand, would be made in France also. And you'd expect the spare parts to be available there also. But where do you think the spare parts is coming from? I must say I rang only today to find because I was ringing the. It's over a month since they got the okay, and then we're requesting the spare parts. And I rang them, we'd say a further ago, and said, "What's the delay? We're still waiting on the spare parts. We'll ring you when we have them." So I rang again yesterday, and no sign of the spare parts. I said, it's taken a heck of a long time for them to come. That's nearly 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I rang the garage in Navan that looks after the Renault and that, um, sorry, in Cavan and Blackstone, I think. And I spoke to their spare parts department, and mentioned who I was and, what was the delay about the spare parts. And where do you think the spare parts is coming from? Russia. Now, the management in Renault the lights must be out or something, because to have spare parts for a brand that they distribute and make, as far as the rest of us is concerned, are they actually made in France? I'm going to have to check that out. And that is irresponsible of Renault to cite spare parts in Russia, which is not in the EU. They should have cited them in this country. Don't forget, we were manufacturing cars in this country until the EU, making Fords down in Cork and Dunlop for the tyres. And there was thousands of people employed. And then they were all gone. And we had Morris Miners and something done in Dublin in Britain, in Rathmines. And then we had something else in McCairns and the Hillman Hunter and all the rest of it. So we had car manufacturing facilities. So this would have been an ideal country for the spare parts. You're going to be contacting their head office and querying as to why they had their spare parts in Russia, which is not in the EU. And there's a war there now. So that's quite a delay, I would think. And somebody then mentioned when I queried that, I thought it was crazy for it to be spare parts to be in Russia with a war going on. And even without a war, I wouldn't be too keen on Russia. Communist country, are supposed to be now not communist, but it's in their DNA, isn't it? And this war in Ukraine, and then apparently the spare parts for some manufactured in Ukraine, so must be a delay there too. But as far as the Dacia, it's Russia. And there's no Russian in Russia, put it that way. So I said to the spare parts fellow, I wonder will I have these? Will I have these? Will it be before Christmas? Before these parts come, I said it's about the worst I ever saw. So I bought another car, Dacia as well, for a smaller one. That's easier to park and all the rest of it, because it's still, I have the other one still, and when it's mended, I'll sell it. I got a friend that's good at that sort of thing to sell it, that I did business with over the years. He had a garage, but during the Depression there that we had some years back, he does it from home, and he had some other little things in the fire. He was doing ESB, reading meters. But now they put in these smart meters, and there's no need for them now. I don't know what happened. I'd be talking to him when this lad is fixed. No point in talking to him now. But when it's fixed, and I wasn't thinking it'd be this long. So when I rang the crowd audit take and said, where do you think the spare parts is coming from? And he didn't know. And I said, Russia. Well, I said, sure, I mean, will we ever get them from Russia? And I said, I'd be writing to Renault to know what was the idea of having spare parts coming from Russia when it's not in the EU. And cite their spare parts in this country, which has a record of being good in that area. And it would give good employment. And it'd be guaranteed. It'd be none of this, what's happening with Russia. Yeah. So they'd want, it's funny how management probably go for the cheapest place that they can get it done. They don't think of the customer. And that's where they lose out. A lot of companies is at that racket. I did a little video about Sudocrem there, the same racket there. So you don't know what to make of these international companies. They're always looking for the cheapest and that kind of thing. So It's very short-sighted to my way of thinking. If they're in the EU, they should be manufactured in the EU, and where better than here? We have a good record of being proactive and doing a good job and being finished on time. None of this Russian business. Russia's badly named. They're not Russian or anything. Here we might be taking it easy and slow, but we can get on with it too. Great manufacturing country. This we could do with the spare parts for Dacia and Renault probably. Where their spare parts? They could be coming from some other country, for all I know. Okay, so there you are. There's a bit of news for you about spare parts. So whatever car you have, just check in case you have a bit of a tip, and not your fault. Where's the spare parts coming from? And if they're coming from the Lake of Russia, some of them countries, that's very short-sighted part of those people that's producing cars. They're being economical with the truth there. Okay, bye now.